I always love it when that little recording button comes in.
Yeah.
Yay, yay, yay. Well, welcome to our fifth, can you believe this, Deb?
Yeah.
Fifth podcast of Two Girlfriends Talk. I'm Joan, and this is my dear friend, Deb.
Hi, everybody.
And we really share simple tricks and resources and practices that help you organize and energize busy lives. That's really the point. And it's like this name of Two Girlfriends Talk, where did that come from? Whenever there's something I want to know about, I call a girlfriend.
Yes.
And so in case your girlfriend's busy, you can just go to the podcast. And if you have an interest in the subject we're talking about,
Exactly.
we're here.
We're here.
So we can be your, Two Girls Talk girlfriend on this podcast. Hopefully we'll give you an idea or two. First, you'll do some sort of laughing. And I know you're going to learn something because Deb is so great at what she does in sharing the organizing content. Mine's going to be the energy content. And last time we talked about, when we were introducing the subject for last time, it was like, Deb asked, Joan, isn't there sort of a numbers thing going on for 2024? And I said, well, as a matter of fact, there is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share about the number and, dragon energy for this year. But Deb, why don't you tell us, what are we talking about today? What's the main thing?
The main theme for today is how do we unload family heirlooms? And that came out of our discussion last time as well, when we were talking about how do we help our loved ones say goodbye to some of those things that have been sitting around the house or the garage.
I love that.
Phoebe's here. So for those of you who've been tuning in, everyone knows I have a cat and she's quite vocal. So she'll probably be in the screen in a minute or two.
Well, we love having Phoebe here. And of course, if we ever say something really important, she always wants to make sure she participates.
That's true. And add her 2 cents.
Absolutely.
There we go. She is. All right.
So let's get Phoebe comfortable. So pour a cup of tea. Let's dream. Let's see what we can come up with. So, Deb, do you happen to have your little island cards nearby?
I do.
Oh, perfect.
They're ready to go. So
a zillion years ago, when I started teaching Tai Chi, I wanted a focal point, for people with really busy lives. It's like you come into class, it's like, oh, let's hurry up and meditate. Well, it might take you a while to like settle in and get focused. So I lived on a little island in the San Juans, spent summers here, and I have 44 cards and a blank card. And I think it's fun when you're going to start a new project, since our specialty is Deb is the organizer, I'm the energizer. So we're talking about heirlooms today, and what sort of energy could be helpful? What sort of organizing words or structure might support what we're going to share? So Deb, why don't you pull a card to see what feels good for you?
Okay. All right. You're going to love this. All right. So let's see if you can see that.
Listen up.
That is vital.
Okay. So
Absolutely
now I'm
vital for this topic.
Loosen up. So why don't you just talk about that one a little bit?
So now that you've decided that you have things that you are ready to say goodbye to, you have to also put yourself in the frame of mind in terms of, how do I release these items into the world that meant so much to a family member or members that the item is considered a family heirloom. And it's something that you may not care about, or maybe you do care about it, but it's not your style. But you're ready to let it go. And so loosening up for me in this particular process has a lot to do with keeping an open mind about how you're going to let this item into the world so that it can find a new home.
Yeah, and I think that's so great. And it reminds me when, when we're holding on tight, there's not
Right.
room for a lot of new ideas. And when we
Exactly.
open, and I think curiosity, I
Yeah.
think there is a willingness and a curiosity. And
Yeah.
I think loosening up helps like stimulate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you may find out that what you thought might have been worth a lot of money isn't. And so there's a lot of reality that sets in during this process. And so loosening up and giving yourself room to breathe and think about what is actually happening is going to be so much easier than if you're clenched and tight and feel like either you have to make money off of this, or it has to go to the right person, or whatever's holding you back. Try to loosen those restraints, because it'll make the process and the experience a lot more valuable and possibly a lot more exciting.
So you're going to love this.
All right.
What kind of energy?
Ah,
Quietly.
okay.
So as an Oracle card reader, which I've been doing for a long time, what I find is I often like things backwards. So if you have the card loosen up, when I was little and I spent time gathering oysters, there's the left side of the shell, there's the right side of the shell, and how a pearl is formed is when sand or grit gets under the muscle, and it's through chaos that a pearl is born. And I think there's kind of like our ideas, and then there's the end result.
Right.
The pearl is all the chaos that happens, in between. So
Right.
Deb had loosen up and I had sit quietly. So how you can kind of think of it, one way is we're waking up to, okay, let's loosen up. And then we can sit quietly. So maybe after loosening up, we can sit quietly. Maybe it's a great time to remember and honor the heirloom, the person who gave it to it, what it means, how it feels.
Right.
And we can sit quietly. It takes moments to do this.
Yeah.
You can even write a love letter to this furniture. You can do whatever you want to do, but have that kind of loosen up and get that at completion, but let it bloom in your heart.
Yeah.
Have fun with this.
Yes.
We bring the personality and the energy to every topic. Topics don't have a personality.
No.
We bring how we feel about it to it. So
Exactly.
loosen up and sit quietly. And most importantly is however that works for you, your words, how does it work? That's just sort of what, Deb and I are thinking. And before we go into heirlooms further, I thought I wanted to just play off of what 2024 means energy-wise and how you can use this words that I'm going to share as part of your strategy for maybe how you organize your thoughts or organize your heirlooms so you feel comfortable moving forward, however that is for you.
Right.
So 2024, every, numbers, numbers have an energy, they hold a value. And how you come up to the year 8, which 2024 is, it's 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4 equals 8. And I think of 8 as 2 circles. And if you think of the top circle is Father Sky and the bottom circle is Mother Earth. Just 2 round circles, one on top. or part of a headless snowman, however you want to see it, two round circles. And ideally, they're the same size, top and bottom. It's also yin and yang energy. If you put them on the side, you get that figure 8 on the side, the universal symbol for harmony and endless possibilities.
Mhm.
Now think about, and this is all going with an heirloom concept.
Mhm.
I wanted to share these words as like a new way we're loosening up how
Mhm.
we might want to play with our heirlooms, not work with them, play with them, honor them. 8 is a power number. It's about luck, abundance, harmony. And what's helpful for us to focus is to be strong and confident. It's time to go big. Extend your reach. Follow your heart, trust your intuition. And it's really, too, it really balances mind, body, spirit, emotions. Really important to have that flow between. And bottom line, it's time to express your creativity. And you get to do that in how you work with your heirlooms, how
Right.
they've supported you, and now how you're going to honor and support them.
Mhm.
So that's the 2024. That's the 8. How does that feel when you think about your year so far, Deb? Does that kind of 8 energy feel buoyant to you?
It does. Actually, it does. There are so many things that I have planned for the year. It's mainly that sense of adventure and possibility that is kind of my center right now. There's so much going on that anything can happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it could be a lot of everything all at once, or, it could be something in a that I'm not even thinking of. It could be a possibility I'm not even thinking of right now that could present itself later on down the line.
Exactly. Well, and then one of the things, oh, that's what I wanted to do. Hold on. See, when I did the bookshelf, that was our first lesson.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, there we go. So years ago, I got Louise Hay's book, Color and Numbers. I'll leave a link down below. And the number 8. So I think it's really interesting just looking at it, that what she was saying is beige, brown, and pink. This is the first time ever that Deb and I have both worn beige.
Yep. And there was no memo that went out. So
No, we've never done that before. I think
there
that's
didn't.
kind of cool. And the key word in this 8 year is achievement. So this is the success year. It's harvest time.
Wow.
That which you began 8 years ago is now ready today.
Wow.
Take your product to the market. Business and all material things are yours now. Put out some effort and you will accomplish a lot.
Wow. That's almost scary.
Yeah, and here it is. Go after what you want. Be
After it.
the executive. Wait for this, Deb. Be the executive, the manager, the organizer. Be efficient and businesslike. Be self-confident. Just what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Honest and fair in all your dealings. You can accomplish big things. Look for unexpected money. Business trips are favored. This is your year to achieve.
Wow.
Go for it. And the
Wow.
mantra she came up with, I am the prosperous, successful executive of my world.
Wow. I love that.
Pretty cool.
Yes.
Well, thanks to Louise. That was just just another spin, like on the number 8.
Yes.
And the last thing I wanted to share was it's also a dragon energy. So in Chinese astrology, I'm a dragon.
Mhm.
I happen to be a water dragon. This is a wood dragon year. My mom was a wood dragon. It was when she was born.
Wow.
I love dragon energy. I
Yeah.
have a big year planned. And, it's like Deb and I are doing a podcast. I mean, it's like, who knew?
I know.
I mean, this was never really, so, once a month, the first Saturday of the month at 9 a.m., we post a new podcast and somebody will ask us a question or we have an idea, and that's how we know to share.
Mhm.
And so I thought, well, we now know kind of that energy of the number 8.
That's,
So how does that play? How does that endless possibilities play with the magical dragon? So to me, it comes down to keywords. And so you can see how they might want to work with your year personally
mhm.
or with how you're working with your heirlooms. There's no rules. I mean, to me, it's all about having a solid foundation.
Right.
Keywords for dragon energy this year: growth, deepen connections, creativity, finding your path, embracing your strength, your passion, your power. Be determined. Spark imagination. Positive transformation. I have several private clients that were working with butterflies this year, from goo to wings.
Wow.
And that's really been the symbol. It's like I grew up with butterflies on my wall as a little girl, always fascinated. But, in terms of a transformation tool, the butterfly is such a great symbol.
Yes.
And this is a year of positive transformation. So you can think about your house might have a lot of heirlooms in there that you've been waiting a long time to move. Well, this is
Mhm.
your year of
You do that.
transformation,
Yeah.
doing it in the way that feels good for you. Deb
Yeah.
has tips. And then lastly, be flexible, open to change, and financial prosperity.
Exactly.
Can you see how an 8 year and a dragon year are so harmonious?
Yes. It's beautiful.
Love that.
By the way, I have a butterfly on my business card. I know you haven't seen it, but and it's specifically the idea of transformation that the butterfly is on the card, because whatever kind of growth you go through, you transform yourself at the same time. So even the idea of organizing your life is transforming.
Two girlfriends talk, baby.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you, now that we're energized, why don't you lead us into what's next? I'm going to turn my heater up. Go for it,
Okay.
Deb.
All right. That sounds great. So when we talked last time, we talked a little bit about when things have meaning to us. And we have to determine whether the thing is our memory of it or someone else's memory. So when you have a family heirloom, a lot of times people don't want to let things go because there is a memory behind it. Now, if the memory belongs to you, then, and you don't want to get rid of it, that's okay. Hang on to it. But if the memory is not yours, meaning that grandma bought a china set, 70 years ago, and she used it all the time, but it doesn't really have any meaning for you. It has meaning for her. That's when you can separate how you feel about the item. And that's the step one. And so assuming that you got to that step and you're now ready to depart with the china set or whatever it is that you've got that you need to unload, you've accomplished a really big goal, which is to get past that emotional hurdle. So then the next question is, okay, what do I do with it? So do I sell it? Do I donate it? Do I put it on the curb? Because we do that a lot. I find lots of things on the curb. So that's the next question you have to ask yourself. Do I want to sell it? Do I want to donate it? If you want to sell it, let me step back. Donating is easier, but it depends on what it is. So furniture can be hard to donate. Most other things are fairly easy to donate. But furniture can be tricky. So I have two favorite places I like to go to first on the donation list, and that is the Salvation Army, because they will come and pick it up, or at least they do in my neighborhood, and the Habitat for Humanity Restore Project. They will also come and take things, but they are very specific and very particular about what they will take. So those are my two favorite ones for furniture. Everything else is smaller, and so it's a little bit easier to deal with in some cases. So if you have furniture, those would be the first two ways of dealing with it. And then if they won't take it after donation, then put it out on Marketplace as free and have someone come and get it from you. And that makes it really, really easy. But if there are items that you think have value, then you have to determine the value of it. So is it valuable because grandma paid a couple $100 for that china back in the day? Or does it not have that value anymore? And sadly, when it comes to things like china, china doesn't carry the same value that it used to carry 50, 60, 70 years ago. People don't use it anymore. Young people don't want china. So you have to get very real about the value of an item. Is it actual value, or is it more emotional, personal value? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think the item has value, if it's collectible, if it's something that, if it's art or jewelry, then the next step is to get it appraised. And so most people have appraisers in their area. But if you need to find an appraiser, you can go to the International Society of Appraisers. They're online, and so is the American Appraisal Society. And we'll put the links or the websites in the notes for those folks. And from there, you can find an appraisal that's local to you, an appraiser rather, that's local to you. And you can also take classes in case you're interested in finding out the value of other things. Like, does Uncle Joe have a wine collection? That's pretty interesting type of collection. Do they have bobbleheads? That's another kind of collection that might have some value to it. I had an estate sale person tell me that they came in to do a full estate sale, and they honed in on some Rolex watches that they knew that they had value and could be sold. So you have to determine what is the item, and then does it have value? And once you've gone through the appraisal process, and that's a long one because you've got to find the appraiser that's near you, and more than likely you're going to have to pay some money to have those items appraised. And at that point, you also have to set yourself up. This is where you need to loosen up, because those items that you think are valuable may not be as valuable as you think. So that's where you have to get very real with yourself in terms of, I still want to let this go. I still would like to make some money off of it because it does have a value. It just may not be the value you think it is. So, and you have to, and even things like artwork, is it a print? Is it a photograph? Is it an oil painting? Is it a watercolor? All of those things, is it original? Is it an original piece, or is it just a print? Sometimes prints have really strong value, even though they're a print versus an original. But then some prints don't carry any value at all. So you have to determine, for every item that you want to sell, you have to really make a determination of what is that item, and then you can determine its value. So if the appraiser says this piece of art is worth some money, they might know of someone who can then sell it for you, and then you can consign it. Or you can bring it to one of the larger auction houses like a Bonhams or a Butterfields or something like that, and let them take care of the process, and then you're done. But if it's something that doesn't have the value that you thought it did, and you still want to make some money, there are plenty of avenues to go through. And one of them is Facebook Marketplace. Another one is eBay, if you're willing to ship. I think you can also say that, this is a local pickup. You can sell it on Etsy. Etsy is great for vintage stuff because people, even if it doesn't have like a huge market value, people still really like vintage items. So vintage clothing, vintage furniture, vintage, even china can have a value on Etsy. You can also look up local consignment stores in your area that do antiques and vintage things. And again, it would be a consignment type of thing. Let them do the marketing for you. Let them do the work. You may not get as big of a price tag off of it by letting them do that, but it's out of your house. So that's another determination is, do you want that out now? Or do you want it? Are you willing to hang on to it until you get what you want for it? So that is a consideration. And lots of people, they don't want, they don't want to keep carrying the item anymore because, as we discussed in a previous episode, the items in your home carry weight. They carry weight in terms of where they're located in your house,
Energy.
as well as in here, the energy that it takes to hang on to it. So, if
I
you
think that too, like Deb too, is there a sense of urgency?
right,
Is it sort of like, it would be nice to find a home for that, or
right,
like
it,
with somebody like me, it'll be done immediately.
yeah,
Other people, it's like, I can live with it. It's not really that big a deal.
yeah.
But for
Well,
somebody else, it may be.
so the family heirloom topic was so interesting to me because that's how I actually got into this business. I ended up with stuff from my mother and two aunts. And next thing I know, I am overwhelmed with things that in some cases had no meaning to me. And in some cases had a lot of meaning to me because I grew up with it. But what do I do with all this stuff? So I had, one of those deathbed promises of please take my dining room table. And I ended up with, after my mother passed, I ended up with 2 dining room tables. What do I do with dining room tables and chairs? That was a tough one, because the one I kind of liked more than I liked the other, but the other one I grew up with. So what do I do? And thank God for Restore because they took some of that furniture because it was in really good shape. It was good stuff. It was not cheap furniture at all, but they were able to take it off my hands. Again, it's like memories associated with things. I had as much trouble with it as the next person. So I have a desk worth absolutely nothing on the market, but my aunt used to write her bills and her letters at this desk. And I remember seeing her do that. And that just, whenever I look at that desk, she's right there with me. So that stays with me. So that's part of the emotion that goes along with unloading things. That memory is my memory of the desk, but the dining room table that belonged to another person, don't really even remember having dinner at that table. As much as I like the table, I didn't. So that one went away. And at the time, I didn't have the energy or the room to hang on to these things. So I had an urgency. So that stuff was donated. Now, the next time around, I might still have an urgency, but I might go to an estate salesperson, somebody that actually works with a whole house full of things, and let them deal with the selling of my things. And what those folks will do is they'll basically offer you a lump sum in cash to haul your things away, and then they will deal with it as they will. And once it's gone, it's gone. You have no say in the matter, but you have a lump of cash that they will pay to take these things off of your hands. So it's another option for selling things that you don't want to keep. And if you have a sense of urgency about getting that out of the house. For smaller things, I love for Facebook Marketplace because they're basically paying you to come and take it away. And if you really have a sense of fun and adventure, you could always try Max Sold Auction, and we'll put that website in the notes as well. You can auction things off. It's a private auction, so you don't need permits for a garage sale or anything. People just come in and take the stuff from you, but they're paying you to take it away. Now, you're not necessarily going to get top dollar for it unless something is highly valued, like a piece of mid-century modern furniture that is in demand right now because it's just on trend. Then you'll make some money off of it, or certain artworks you'll make some money off of. But everything else, it's like if you've got things from cleaning products to tools, you can get rid of it through an auction, a Max Sold auction. But again, some of these things will take time, and you'll have to either allow yourself the time or go the route of, how do I get rid of it now? Salvation Army, Goodwill, put it on the curb, or have an estate planner or estate sales person come and take it away from you. So that's it for today. That was my list of how you get rid of something. And please, if anybody wants more information, just send a question, add a question to the notes, subscribe, and we might answer those questions online at a later date, or you can reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to answer questions if you email me.
No, that's great, Deb. And I'm just thinking about that with heirlooms. It's like one of the reasons why I think it's fun to know what the energy of the year is.
Yeah.
Is that if there was ever a time that's going to fuel it, I think of it like the like the wind beneath your wings, or what's behind you, helping you move forward, as opposed to this.
Yeah.
But it's a time of, endless possibilities. It's like new beginnings. There's a lot of energy being, brought forward. So you're kind of, you sit quietly and you kind of think about, what am I ready to do? What feels good?
Yes.
Get your calendar out. I'm a big calendar person. I like the word calendarize. So it's like, what, maybe I want to, think about it over the next couple of months. And then this summer, I want to organize a neighborhood garage sale. So it's outside and it's easy. But you have a momentum, you've got a target, you have a focus, and you're moving towards that. Because I think it's sometimes difficult to recall that every single thing in our home has an energy, and we're responsible for it.
Exactly.
Like all your real estate, everything you see, everything you don't see, and the borders of your property, it's all you.
Right.
And how well it's organized and used shifts.
Yes.
Because everyone lives in a house differently.
That's
different
true.
members do things differently in the house. And the key is finding what works for you. Exactly. So I think loosening up is just something that is so helpful. It's such a great reminder. It's like, okay, when you loosen up, you feel it's like, okay, I can try doing that. And exactly. Who knows, sometimes for heirlooms, it could be as funny as this sounds, you love the heirloom, but it's not working. Something's not working. Sometimes I find taking an heirloom, putting it in another room and giving it another function, all of a sudden it's perfect.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, my dresser I've had since 1965. There are all kinds of better dressers, but no, this one was an heirloom. It was on a piece of property in a bedroom that I was able to spend summers in. And I've painted it a zillion colors. You couldn't give me money for that heirloom.
Exactly.
It's mine forever at, for more than 50 years, it's been
Yeah.
my dresser.
Yeah.
It'll always be my dresser. I'm
Yes.
not going to have another one. So I can walk around, and like when Deb was just talking about Etsy, Poshmark is just another great one. I love antique scarves.
Mhm.
I love furniture with a history.
Yeah.
I have a lot of what are now antiques, weren't before, but I've lived long enough, so I've had things a long time. So now it's almost antique quality.
Right.
But there's just so many ways that we can work with. And just like, Deb was saying, it's like, okay, what's the plan? Is it something you want to move out now, 3 months from now,
Right.
6 months, within a year? Whenever family and friends are coming over, if it's in that kind of conversation, we might try it in another location.
Sure.
How does it feel? And I've got a girlfriend, I've never in my life thought of this idea of putting something on a curb. Where I live, it's never seen such a thing. But I have one of my clients, and what I have her doing is, and she lives in Southern California, they put things out on the curb, gone.
Yep. Yep. I mean, it's so much fun. To me, this industry is really fun when it comes to, when people are ready to let go of things, or even if they want to keep things. It's so interesting to me what people love in their homes or what they don't care for. So I run across clients that want to keep everything if they could. And then I have clients that are not married to anything that they have, maybe one or two items because it belonged to their mom or dad or something. And so it does have a certain meaning to them, but a lot of times they'll just, out with the old and in with the new, as though it were, a paper towel almost. But
Wow.
but it is really, really fun. And I find that the industry is just fascinating. I find that what comes and goes from one year to the next, like last year, I think rattan furniture was really big. And of course, the mid-century modern has just been holding its own for a while. So if you've got that right now and you want to let it go, you're going to find a good market for it, right? Rattan, I don't know so much this year, but look at what the trends are in the magazines. What are people, what are the designers interested in? And not just the designers that are looking at new stuff. I love to watch shows that talk about, just moving their things around, or they're remodeled, but they're bringing in stuff that the person already owned. And
Repurposing.
yeah, giving it new life.
Right.
And so I love the idea that, yeah, you just take something and move it into another room and see how it works. And I'm the same way. It's like I have had plenty of things in my life that were really nice, but they weren't my style and they didn't work for me. And
Right.
I just couldn't keep it. Couldn't keep it.
Next.
Yeah, exactly. Next.
And I think that's really the curiosity. We're
Yeah.
forever changing.
Yeah.
And like this year, if we're thinking about harmony and flow, creativity, listening to our heart, following our intuition, and this endless possibilities, and the idea of adventure.
Yes.
Like, so, what do I want? What feels good could be very different than where we were a year ago.
That's true. Yeah.
Lives, change so much. So that's why I think being curious, being willing, we're
Yeah.
loosening up. We need to sit quietly and to kind of know what is it we want, what
Yeah.
feels good for us now.
Mhm.
And maybe it's like, I'm not ready to do anything now, but this was a couple of ideas. And that's really why we, do this program,
Yeah.
is to just sort of like just play with, it's sort of like trying on hats.
Yeah.
That's kind of a fun idea. Or,
Mhm.
I have a girlfriend who's getting ready to deal with, a relative just passed, and she's just received all of these things. She needs some support, yet I don't really know, what, I want to share this episode. And that's really where Deb and I can be helpful is that if on any of these subjects that you're finding that you're getting value, please like, subscribe, and share it with a girlfriend who
Right.
you think, might benefit. Because this is all about pleasure. This is about fun. This is
Yeah.
about helping each other, being our own resources. We're going to share what we find valuable.
Mhm.
And Deb and I have a 40+ year friendship of like, all right, Deb, so this is going on. What do you think? Hey, Joan, I want to talk to you about, oh, let me get this. What year are you in? Okay. Oh, you're in this personal year. Well, let me tell you what's going on. Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So that's how we play. And that's really what this podcast is all about.
Yeah.
So
Well, hopefully these tips gave you some ideas on how to strategize. Like if you're not ready to do it right now, that's great. Don't put a lot of pressure on yourself about it, but it gives you food for thought so that you can think about how you're going to do this. And in fact, I think I had a conversation with a friend about something else, but she gave me so many ideas as we were talking that I realized that I didn't have to do something one way. I could do it two ways. I could do things in parallel with each other, and I wasn't restricted to just one idea. So that's the other thing about this stuff. It's like you might be donating some things and selling other things. And ask friends, does a friend have an interest in some of this stuff? Does a friend have an interest in helping you to maybe sell some of this stuff? Maybe they know someone who is interested in a piece of furniture that they can't find, and maybe they'd like your piece of furniture. So you just never know, but have the conversation with folks and let your mind wander with it, because you may come up with the idea that works best for you.
I love that. I mean, too, it could be like, hey, kids are getting an apartment or a first home,
Right.
and it's like, oh my gosh, and might this help you? Is this
Right.
something you would like? Okay, here we go. And all of a sudden, it's that little catalyst, and it's helping someone
Yeah.
else because, and something else I always do is anything that leaves my house,
Mhm.
that whether it's furniture, art, clothing, whatever I want to pass on, I make sure to thank the item.
Thank you for your service. Exactly. I do the same thing. It's like, thank you very
It's
much.
so important, so we're sharing our abundance. It feels complete for us, but
Mhm.
now it's a new beginning for someone else.
That's true. Yeah, that's
And
true.
I just think that, over the years, that's just been something that I just naturally do.
Mhm.
And I just think that just brings that sense of upliftment or positivity or love into the object. So when someone's rifling through things at a thrift shop or somewhere, they're going, oh, I like this. It's got
Exactly.
good vibes, it's
Right.
happy and it's complete. All my things are complete with me.
Yeah.
I never release anything unless it's lingering. Well,
Yeah.
there was that divorce. That was really difficult. I'm still working on that. It's been a long time.
Yeah, those are hard. Those are hard. Been there, understand.
But I would say other than that, it's, that's the hardest letting go of my life. And, there's all the loved ones and pets and all that we're getting through. And even with all of that, and even in my divorce, because one of my things is when you come up on your wedding anniversary, is I always make sure to send love to my husband and for him and his new life,
Yeah.
and wish the very best for him, just like I did when we were married. So, but again, I have to do that in everything.
Yeah.
And so for me, I have to loosen up these
Mm.
areas where there's a energy. I
Yeah.
have to make sure I have open hands,
Yeah.
open, loving heart, as opposed to. So that's just kind of the scoop on that. Who knows how I got onto that subject? Anyway, so Next time,
It's all about letting go.
that's right, it's all about letting go.
Yeah.
So next time, what Deb and I were talking about, and I think that this is a really, I think it's timely, is, so Deb, who uses a professional organizer and why?
And I will have a list for you of who actually uses professional organizers, and how they use professional organizers, because there's a long list of things that we can do to help out folks in the community.
This is so fun. I mean, I'm learning, what I love, Deb, is I'm learning, we would never be having conversations like this, the deep
Yeah,
dive to like what you're doing. We'd
right,
have,
right.
we'd go in other directions, but not the nuts and bolts so much.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah, that
And
is
I
very
think that's
true.
what's so helpful.
Yeah. And that's why I love talking about it too, because I get very excited actually about the nuts and bolts of organizing. And, you know, to me, it's fun. I have such fun doing this work. I get a whole lot of satisfaction when I can see that the client is really happy with something that I've done. Even taking things out of their home once they're done organizing, or we're done, decluttering in some way, taking the things out and leaving that space is thrilling. I think it's thrilling to them, and it's thrilling for me, because I don't just take things to the Goodwill. I try to find homes for things. And I dispose of things, in a proper way. So if it's toxic waste, it goes to the toxic waste disposal. And if it's towels, which nobody takes towels, but the SPCA or the animal shelter, they take towels. And sometimes they take bedding. So I keep my hand sort of on the pulse of who's taking what these days, and what shelters, will take things. And even the Goodwill gets filled up with things that they can't get rid of it. So rather than having those things in the landfill, I try to find homes for stuff. So
I love that. Well, and I think that comes down to really like the three areas that we have skills is organizing,
mhm.
energizing,
Yeah.
and what we both adore is strategizing.
Yes. And I'm a list
Fun.
person, so I will literally list it all out, every step I need to take to do something. When it comes to my own organizing or purging or whatever it is I'm doing, I keep a running list of everything that needs to get done. It's
Well,
always step by step. It always, that's the easiest way to do it. And then you just check it off as it gets done.
nice solid foundation. And what we'll do is today, Deb will let me know, and we're going to put the notes together, and I'll do Louise's book and
Yeah.
just have it in the notes down below.
Yes.
And our next podcast is going to be the first Saturday in April, April 6th at 9 a.m. It will be live. And anything else, Deb, you have to share for today?
I think that's it. Just I'll reiterate one more time to give yourself time to do these longer projects. Even give yourself a little bit of time if it's something that you need to, if those items need to go quickly. Give yourself a few minutes to just sit down and think about how you want to do that, because the end result will be better for you.
And that's what our two cards played with today.
Mhm.
So sit quietly as you organize. And then as you start to move forward, that helps you loosen up.
Yes.
New ideas, endless possibilities come to you. So bye for now.
Until
Hope
next
that
time.
gave you some good tips on what do I do with this heirloom?
What do I
Now
do?
you have some more ideas.
Yeah.
All righty, bye for now.
Bye
See
for
you
now.
next time. And please, if you like this episode and you found value in it, please like it and subscribe and share with a girlfriend where you think this might be valuable for them.
Yes.
So till next time,
All right. Till next
take
time.
good care.
Bye.